Hey, thanks for clicking on my face. If you're wondering why you're here, it's because I'm a blind film critic, and I watched Eyes Wide Shut, and you thought that would be interesting, so you clicked on me reviewing Eyes Wide Shut without audio description. I like to do this from time to time to keep all the streaming services in check because they don't have 100% accessibility, which I would love to see. And I pick films so that I can talk about why they're difficult to watch without audio description. I've actually never seen Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. I was not old enough to go to the theaters by myself when this came out, so I missed that opportunity, and I always found a reason to not watch it. I mean, to be totally honest, it just didn't really get great reviews, and I just kind of kept shoving it under the bed, so to speak, and just, no, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And then, lo and behold, on HBO Max, it showed up under Last Chance. I was like, Last Chance. This is my last chance. And I was like, ever? Is this my last chance ever to watch this film? Is it never coming back? So, of course I watched Eyes Wide Shut. Because it's Stanley Kubrick's last film, technically. Unless you want to consider, like, AI spiritually his last film, because he sort of worked on it before. Which he did. I mean, it's fair. But this is his last film where he had full and complete control over it, I should say. And it's not his best film, but I don't know that a lot of people, their final film is their best film. I don't know, especially a lot of people who are not planning on that being their final film, which he wasn't. He was planning on AI being his final film, or at least his next film. I don't know if it was his final film, but he was planning on doing AI, so there's that. I don't think he was planning on ending on this weird sexcapade, which is really what this film is not. It's been sold as that, but it's much more complicated than that. The sad thing is that this film is actually pretty unwatchable in terms of being able to understand it from start to finish. It's long. It's over 2.5 hours. And one of the things that I noticed going into it was, the marketing kind of had Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman as being like equally involved in equal amounts of screen time. And I'll say that the film does have large sections where there isn't any dialogue and you're stuck there for a while. And it's entirely possible that in every single one of those segments we catch up with Nicole Kidman's character, and that Stanley Kubrick just was like, she's pretty, I'm going to put her in my film and not give her a lot of dialogue. But it seems like Nicole Kidman's biggest impact in the film is at the beginning and at the end. And like the middle is Tom Cruise going on this weird odyssey. So that is this film. I was really interested in it actually because it came up again most recently because of Tar and Todd Field, and everybody was comparing Tar to being this very Kubrickian type film. And that Todd Field had picked up all of these, notes and everything while working with Stanley Kubrick on Eyes Wide Shut because he's in this as an actor. And I thought that was really interesting. Also, there's another director in this too. Sidney Pollack has actually quite an extended role in this film as well. It's interesting that Stanley Kubrick, he doesn't have a lot of major roles in this film, but he does give 2 of them to directors. Obviously, Todd Field was not a director at the time and went on to direct. The other one is Sidney Pollack, who had directed at the time and also was an actor. So, it's an interesting film. I'm not going to debate the fact that Eyes Wide Shut is completely without merit as a film. It has some really good conversations. They're all sort of about relationships, at least on some level. they become about either we're making connections, or what type of connections we're making, how we make those connections, how we feel around certain people, how certain people feel around us. Lots of conversations about that. It starts sort of early on. It works its way into, there's a very lengthy conversation between Tom and Nicole towards the beginning of the film that kind of sets sort of a catalyst moving forward about, is he attracted to anybody outside of their marriage? And, what about his patients? Because he plays a doctor in the film, and doesn't he think that his patients are ever attracted to him? And he's like, no, usually they're scared that I'm going to tell them they have cancer. Like, he doesn't even think about it that way. And it feels so totally genuine too. It's actually a really good performance from Tom Cruise. He really gets offered these kind of roles where he just gets to act. He's not expected. He doesn't have to run. He doesn't have to fight anybody. He doesn't have to perform a crazy ass stunt. He just has to kind of maneuver his way through the film. And it's kind of refreshing to see that. Nicole Kidman is wasted here. If you're a Nicole Kidman fan, this is not the film for you. She really does not do much. She just kind of comes in. She has like 2 solid scenes at the beginning and at the end. And in the middle of the film is just Tom Cruise. And especially if you're blind, the middle of the film is Tom Cruise. I don't know what is happening in any of the scenes where there's just music. And Kubrick does a lot where he plays with, this is going to be a dialogue scene. So he focuses his sound entirely on the dialogue. For most of his dialogue scenes, there's no music undercutting any of it. It's just the dialogue. It's just a dialogue scene with like dead silence underneath it, because he wants you to focus on what the words are. He's like, I wrote this script. These words are important. This is what I want you to listen to. And then in the scenes where there are no dialogue, which it seems to happen like every other scene. Like you have a dialogue scene, and then you have a no dialogue scene, and then you have a dialogue scene, and then you have a no dialogue scene. So in his no dialogue scenes, he really loves to play with the music. And the music is varying in levels and style, and really sort of powers through the film. I enjoyed Eyes Wide Shut, even though I had about an hour of it easily that I couldn't understand. When you compile all of those scenes together, there's at least an hour here that I could not tell you what was going on. And I enjoyed listening to it. At least I thought the sound design was cool, and that the music that Kubrick either had written as part of the original score or was using by means of selecting classical titles to put in there. It was hard to tell because they don't feel unified. They don't feel like it has a recurring theme, or that they feel connected. It feels like this is the music for this scene, moving on. This is the music for this scene, moving on. Some films feel like the music all, when you play it back to back to back, all kind of like line up together. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like he selected specific music for specific scenes. And he could have done that through selecting pre-written music, or he could have done that by just having somebody write the craziest score ever. So, who knows? I didn't look it up. I didn't care that much. The fact is, I just came here because it really is unwatchable. It's like a conversation, and then stuff happens, and the conversation and then stuff happens. But the big catalyst for this thing is that Tom eventually gets invited to this party, and at least from the trailers, it was always like this was like the sexy film, right? This was like the one film. This was the one film as a kid that when my mom found out what it was like, no, you're not seeing that. You know, she's like, it was the only film she only put her film down, her foot down about as an R-rated film. She was like, no. Because it was supposed to have all this, you know, tawdry material in it, and I wouldn't really get any of that from what I get in the dialogue. There's a couple scenes where people sort of flirt, I guess you could say, or at least a scene. There's at least a scene where somebody flirts, and there's another scene where some guys get caught doing something. I without the audio description, I don't know how far along that was. So it's a little difficult to say necessarily what the level of sexual content is in this film from my perspective. I mean, I can read about it online, somebody else can tell me about it, but I can't experience it on any sort of level myself. So it's just very sort of odd that way. Yeah, anyway, so this is on HBO Max, and if you, at least for a few more days, I did get it under last chance, and it is set to leave on April 30th, but chances are this is going to float around somewhere or come back to HBO Max at some point, and it probably still won't have audio description. I know it seems weird to request audio description for titles that are not current, that didn't just happen, but we really have to start catching up on putting audio description back onto older titles. And I think stuff, especially when you look at what people might be drawn to, you know, when stuff is having like a big anniversary, when stuff is a classic, who directed it, who stars in it. I think a film like Eyes Wide Shut might be something that absolutely warrants audio description. It has a lot of long segments in which I had no idea what was going on. I had some solid dialogue scenes, and they go on for a while. Kubrick likes to stay in a scene. He does not like short scenes. When a scene begins, it usually stays there for a while. Like you can count on that scene lasting for at least a few minutes. He does not do brief cuts. He doesn't just do a scene where like people are like, "So how you doing? I don't know. How are you doing?" And then they cut. It's nothing. It's a while, which kind of makes you definitely do feel the runtime. I felt the runtime. I can't really grade this film because, like I said, there's like an hour of it that I have no idea what was going on. So I feel like it's kind of unfair. I was enjoying parts of it. Some of the conversations that we were having were really great. There's a conversation between Tom Cruise and Sidney Pollack towards the end of the film that I thought was really engaging and interesting. There's the scene where Tom Cruise goes to get his costume so he can go to the sex party. I thought that was really interesting, and I thought the conversations that Tom had with his wife were interesting. So other conversations just kind of happen like they need to happen. I didn't think the scene with Tom Cruise and Todd Field was very interesting. I just thought it needed to happen in order to move the plot forward. But I didn't actually give a shit. And also, Todd Field is not that great of an actor. Sorry, not sorry. He's just not. When you put him next to Tom Cruise, you realize how little charisma he actually has as an actor and why he decided to step behind the camera. So, it is, I don't think this is not a film I would give an A to, I don't think, even if I understood this film from beginning to end. This is probably somewhere in a B range. I'm gonna guess if this film ever gets audio description and I end up watching it again, I'm not gonna watch it immediately. If it got audio description tomorrow, I wouldn't watch it again. This was a lot. It was 2.5 hours. It's a power through. So I would at least take a year break from this film. So, but that's it. I watched another Kubrick title. I got that checked off my list. But sorry, sports fans, this film's unwatchable without audio description. It's not even appropriate. I don't feel like I can fully say that I watched this because I don't really understand what's going on. It has too many scenes where there's absolutely nothing. I don't even mean like little bits of dialogue or it's like murmuring people in the background. I mean, he drops out dialogue completely. Kubrick actually he selects either dialogue or music. So he has scenes where it's like there's dialogue and no music, and then he has scenes where there's music and no dialogue. So it's a very stark contrast when he wants it. And because of that, it makes it really hard because it's like you get 5 minutes of stuff you understand, and then you get 5 minutes of stuff you have no idea what this is. I don't know where it is. I don't know what's taking place. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know who's in the scene. It's entirely possible Nicole Kidman is in all of those scenes, and her screen time is massive. But I would have no idea. So it leaves me a little confused and wanting. So this is why I do this, is to try to explain what this is like so that hopefully one day we'll get audio description on more titles. Describe everything, #describe everything. It may seem random to you to do Eyes Wide Shut, but to me it's not. To me it's just what every sighted person gets to do. They get to pick from a title, from the list of titles, and watch it. And I mean, I technically can do that, but I also won't understand a lot of the films. However, when I used to be able to see, I had no problem understanding and following these films. I could watch any film. I could watch it with subtitles. I could watch foreign language titles. I could watch something like Eyes Wide Shut and I'd be fine. So we have not bridged the gap, and it is not a level playing field. And I pay the same amount for my subscription that everybody else pays. So it's just accessibility. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. So I'm calling out HBO Max because I call out other streaming services, so why wouldn't I call out HBO Max? Anyway, so that's it. I'm leaving it unwatchable. And thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I hope you found this video to be somewhat informative. And if you like what I do, please subscribe, because I would love for more people to pay attention. But what do I have, 123 subscribers right now? I realize my reach is not where any of the streaming services are going to be like, ooh, there's a guy with 123 subscribers that's calling us out on YouTube. I'm aware. So, but I'm in this for the long haul. So anyway, thanks for watching. I have a website, macmovieguy.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at macmovieguy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. And you can look up your favorite films and television series there, and you can see who is narrating them. I will review something else for you guys. I don't know if it has audio description or not, but I'll review something else. And I will see you on the other side.